Welcome to a world, unlike anything we've imagined, a world where humans and dinosaurs exist together. In this movie, we are taken into an alternate reality where dinosaurs once roamed freely alongside mankind. But everything changed many years ago when a massive destruction swept through the earth. Most of the dinosaur population was wiped out in that catastrophic event. However, a few of them survived, and they retreated underground. Hidden away from the surface world, these surviving dinosaurs started living beneath the earth. Over time, their numbers quietly increased, but they remained trapped below, unable to return to the world above. Then, everything changed again. A few years ago, a massive explosion shook the earth. That explosion ripped open a huge underground path, and through this path, the dinosaurs began to re-emerge into the outside world. But for humans, they turned into danger zones. People stopped going there out of fear. It was far too risky. Only a handful of specialized companies were granted permission to enter these areas. Their job? To research the dinosaurs, study them, understand them, and uncover more about these monstrous, majestic creatures. And that brings us to the year 2010. A major company named InGen had set up a high-tech laboratory on one of these remote islands. Inside this heavily guarded facility, teams of top scientists and geneticists were hard at work, not just studying dinosaurs, but actually changing them. They were conducting advanced research on mutation altering the very DNA of the dinosaurs. The company had already mutated several dinosaur-powerful creatures, stored carefully inside massive, reinforced containers. But just then, something goes terribly wrong. One careless mistake from a lab worker triggers a technical malfunction. The entire mutation process grinds to a halt midway, and the T. Rex, which was sedated until now, wakes up with rage in his eyes and destruction in his heart. It doesn't take long for chaos to break loose. The mutated T-Rex breaks free from its containment and goes on a brutal rampage. It tears through the laboratory, destroying everything in its path. Terrified, the scientists and geneticists abandon the lab, leaving all their research behind. No one ever returned to that facility. And just like that, 17 years pass. The story jumps from 2010 to the year 2027. In the present time, we meet the man who will soon take center stage, Martin. Martin works for a powerful and globally renowned pharmaceutical company named Parker. This company is known for developing cures for some of the world's deadliest diseases. But now, humanity is facing a new threat of mysterious and aggressive heart disease spreading across the globe. This alarming revelation pushes Parker Company to act fast. In their research, the company discovers something shocking: dinosaurs might hold the key to this cure. You see, because dinosaurs are gigantic, their hearts are naturally large and powerful. So, Parker Company launches a secret mission to collect dinosaur blood, and they choose one man to lead it, Martin. But Martin knows this isn't a one-man job. The mission is dangerous, illegal, and full of unknowns. So, the first person he recruits is Zora, the lead female character in the story. Zora isn't just anyone. She's a former Special Forces commander and expert in combat, survival, and handling high-risk missions. And the island Martin must travel to is no ordinary place. Knowing her skills, Martin offers Zora a massive reward, $10 million to join the mission. At first, Zora is hesitant. The job is risky and clearly illegal. But the money is too tempting, and eventually, she agrees. Once Zora is on board, Martin takes her to meet the third member of the team, a brilliant scientist with deep knowledge of dinosaur biology and behavior. Martin explains everything to him: the mutation experiments, the abandoned lab, the blood samples, and the secret mission. The scientist, both fascinated and intrigued by the opportunity, agrees to join without hesitation. And with that, the mission begins. And Martin knew well that 3 people wouldn't be enough for a mission of this scale. That's when Zora stepped in again. She introduced Martin to 2 of her close companions from her Special Forces days. Both were incredibly skilled. One was a combat expert fluent in the use of weapons and deadly and close-range combat. The other was equally strong, and he brought a rare and vital skill to the table. He could operate and navigate a ship even in treacherous waters. As they finished their preparations and boarded the ship for their dangerous voyage, 2 more people were added to the crew. Their roles weren't fully detailed yet, but their addition brought the total headcount of the expedition team to 7. Once at sea, the team gathered around a map. The scientists pointed to a particular island, surrounded by rough waters. It was marked with signs of aquatic life. It became clear from the data that aquatic dinosaurs had made this area their primary habitat. As everyone stared at the map, Martin revealed an important piece of information. This was the same island where, 17 years ago, InGen had conducted their top-secret experiments. The team continued their journey with renewed focus. Everything seemed to be going smoothly until the scene shifted. Somewhere else, a small boat was gliding across the sea. In it were 4 people, Teresa, a young boy, along with his 2 siblings and their father. They were on a leisure trip, simply enjoying a day out on the water. They had no idea of the danger that was slowly closing in around them. As their boat drifted forward, strange ripples started appearing in the water. Before they could react, several massive sea creatures surrounded them. These weren't just any creatures, they were aquatic dinosaurs. One by one, they began slamming into the boat with enormous force. Within seconds, the boat flipped, tossing all 4 of them into the ocean. But by sheer luck, the dinosaurs left without attacking further. The family managed to swim back toward their overturned boat. Teresa's father immediately set up the radio equipment, adjusted the frequency based on their current location, and began sending out distress signals. On Martin's ship, the signal was received. Zora's friend was the first to pick it up. Along with the signal came their exact location, roughly 45 kilometers away from where the team currently was. They were very close to the island now, nearing their destination. Martin focused solely on the mission, refused to turn back. He insisted they would complete the task first before worrying about anyone else. Listening to him, the team instantly realized something. The creatures that attacked them were none other than aquatic dinosaurs, the same ones they were there to find. And before they could even process it, those creatures appeared again. Large aquatic dinosaurs began ramming the ship not with the intent to attack, but simply reacting to the ship's presence. But instead of panicking, the team grew excited. This was their moment. Their first mission collecting blood from a water dinosaur had just begun. The scientists, already prepared for this moment, brought out a specially designed Wapona gun fitted with a syringe and a detachable container. The mechanism was smart. Once fired, the needle would pierce the dinosaur's tough skin, extract blood into the container, and then a parachute would deploy, launching the container safely into the air so it could float down gently for collection. Their first objective complete, they had successfully collected blood from an aquatic dinosaur. The mission had only just begun, but already they were making progress. But that happiness didn't last long. Suddenly, more aquatic dinosaurs began to surface. They weren't done yet. The creatures started violently ramming the ship again and again. Alarmed by the aggression, both of Zora's companions pulled out their weapons and began firing, hoping to drive the creatures away. But the bullets didn't stop them. Instead, the gunfire made the dinosaurs even more aggressive. One of the massive sea creatures swam directly up to the ship, opened its monstrous jaws, and before anyone could react, snatched one of Zora's companions and devoured him right in front of everyone. Panic spread like wildfire. The dinosaurs kept hitting the ship with full force, causing it to rock dangerously. Amidst the chaos, Teresa, a young girl who had been rescued earlier, lost her balance and fell into the sea. Seeing this, her 2 siblings and father didn't hesitate for even a second. They dove into the water after her, swimming as fast as they could toward a nearby island, desperate to save her. Zora's other companions somehow managed to regain control of the ship and navigated it toward the same island. But just as it neared the rocky coast, the ship slammed violently into a rock formation. The crash caused significant damage to the vessel, but miraculously, their lives were spared. As the shaken group stepped off the ruined ship and onto the island, they barely had a moment to breathe when another terrifying event unfolded. From the dense trees, a huge dinosaur emerged. It charged without hesitation and brutally devoured the girl who had joined their team earlier, the one they had included just before the mission began. The mission now felt like a death sentence. Everyone looked at each other, confused and helpless. But Zora stepped up. She reassured them, She said she had expected that something could go wrong with the ship, and so she had made a backup plan. Before even starting the mission, Zora had instructed another team to fly to the island the next day in a rescue helicopter. She explained that if everything went according to plan, they would finish collecting the samples before nightfall. Meanwhile, the group had been split. Teresa and her family were wandering on their own, trying to figure out a way to survive. Zora's team had their goal clear: collect the 2 remaining dinosaur blood samples sewn from a land-dwelling species and 1 from a flying dinosaur and make it to high ground before sunrise. The island was strange, eerie, and full of surprises. As the group explored, they encountered creatures they'd never seen before, different kinds of animals, insects, and various types of dinosaurs. Eventually, they reached a vast open field. There, grazing in herds, were several land-dwelling dinosaurs. They were large, but fortunately, herbivores gentle by nature and not easily provoked. Because their numbers were so vast, these dinosaurs didn't even notice the humans moving quietly among them. Using their needle guns, the team quickly and discreetly collected the second blood sample. Now, only 1 sample remained: the flying dinosaur. But this was the trickiest part. Flying dinosaurs were known for their speed, aggression, and unpredictability. Zora and the scientists decided it would be too dangerous to try and shoot one with a needle. Instead, they came up with a smarter plan. They would locate the nest of a flying dinosaur and extract blood from one of its eggs. Following the scientist's lead, Zora, the scientist, and one of their companions made their way to a massive rock formation. High above, nestled against the rock, was a large nest. Inside it, several dinosaur eggs. Carefully, the scientist reached into the nest and picked up an egg. With a steady hand, he used a specialized device to extract a small amount of blood from within the shell. And just like that, they had the 3rd sample. The mission was technically complete, but their success didn't go unnoticed. The mothering, enormous, razor-winged, flying dinosaurs whooped in from the sky. Seeing them near her nest, she became enraged and let out a deafening screech before diving down toward them. With terrifying speed, she snatched up their companion and tore him apart mid-air. Zora, the scientist, and Martin barely escaped. Clutching the precious blood samples, they ran through the jungle, deeper into the island. As the sun began to set, the team regrouped. By sheer chance, Teresa and her family had also moved toward the same area. And now, just before darkness completely took over the island, both groups, Zora's team and Teresa's family, stood at the gates of the long-abandoned InGen laboratory, the place where it all began. The mission was far from over, and the true horrors of the island were just beginning to awaken. But as they stepped inside, they realized how wrong they were. Because inside this abandoned facility, danger lurked in every shadow. They were suddenly ambushed by a horde of mutated dinosaurs, bigger, faster, and far more bloodthirsty than anything they had encountered so far. And in the midst of this chaos, Martin showed his true colors. He pulled out a gun from his pocket, stepped forward, and snatched the 3 blood sample containers from Zora. He aimed the gun at the group, his voice cold and sharp. He threatened every Onino one moves, or I shoot. It was clear now Martin had never intended to share the samples. Just then, the ground began to tremble. A deafening roar echoed through the ruins. Everyone turned, and standing before them was a towering figure emerging from the darkness. It was the mutated T-Rex, the same monster that had destroyed the lab 17 years ago, the one that had killed so many. And now, it was back, bigger, stronger, and angrier than ever. With a thunderous roar, the T-Rex charged straight at them. Martin tried to run, clutching the box of blood samples, but it was too late. The beast lunged and devoured him in one terrifying bite, the box slipping from his hands as he disappeared into the dinosaur's jaws. The container hit the ground. Zora, without hesitation, grabbed it and ran. Just then, in the sky above, the rescue helicopter appeared, the backup plan Zora had hoped would save them. But the T-Rex wasn't done. It leapt toward the helicopter, its massive jaws crushing the aircraft mid-air. They ran, dodging debris, avoiding lurking predators. They finally reached the ship and climbed aboard. Zora's companion got the controls working, and the ship began to move. Just when it seemed like they were finally escaping, the T-Rex noticed. The beast charged after them, roaring louder than ever. But in that critical moment, Zora's companion noticed something important. The T-Rex always moved toward bright light. That's when he made a bold decision, one that would change everything. He told Zora and the others to keep moving. Then, lighting a flare, he ran in the opposite direction away from the ship. The T-Rex, attracted to the flare's glow, turned and began chasing him instead. Zora tried to stop him. She shouted, pleaded with him not to do this. But he looked back and said softly, "We have no choice. It was the only way." Zora, heartbroken, watched him disappear into the trees with the monster following close behind. Teresa's father gripped the controls and steered the ship away from the island. A heavy silence fell. And then the flare went out. The jungle returned to darkness. Zora froze, her face dropped. She thought her friend was gone, killed by the T-Rex, swallowed by the darkness, just like the others. But moments later, a faint red light flickered again. It was another flare. He was alive. Without hesitation, Zora turned the ship around. They raced back through the foggy shoreline, carefully maneuvering toward the flare. There, bruised and exhausted but alive, stood Zora's companion. He had survived. He had fooled the beast. They pulled him aboard. And this time, for real, they left the island behind. As the boat sailed away from the cursed land, the nightmare finally behind them, the scientist sat beside Zora. He opened up about something Martin had kept hidden. Martin never intended to share the blood samples with the world. His plan was to sell them to just one company, a pharmaceutical giant that would create the medicine, then control its price. And as their ship sailed into the horizon, blood samples safely secured, the mission came to an end. But the questions remained, what happens next? Will this discovery save humanity or endanger it once again? That's where the story ends. Let us know in the comment box, how did you like the story?